Growing up in my house, pets were a constant. Although we had many animals grace our family home, from dogs to ferrets, magpies, finches and even hermit crabs for a time, which unfortunately I forgot to feed and they died. My bad. But cats featured the most. Although we love our cats dearly, there are advantages to owning our feline friends. They are generally cheap, they are low maintenance, they don't make a great deal of noise most of the time, and they don't attack any would-be visitors. But just like humans, every now and then an extra special one rises from amongst the ranks and refuses to settle for the simple life. They seek thrills and adventure, and not just the comfort of Dad's lazy boy armchair. Today on His and Hers History, we explore the tale of one such cat, Oscar the cat, or he is better known by his war title, Unsinkable Sam. Hello everyone and welcome to the His and Hers History podcast.
Hello.
I'm your host Aaron.
And I'm Steph.
My co-host Steph. Before I begin our podcast, I'll just give you a little brief overview of how this podcast is going to work. So if you're new, I'll catch you up to speed. Each week, one of either myself or Steph bring a historical topic to the podcast, either a person, place or event, and we present said historical topic. The only catch is the host presenting knows all the facts and the other host listening knows nothing at all. By doing this, we can have a lighthearted look at the past with genuine reactions, and you guys can laugh along with us as we dissect and potentially ruin history. Right?
You got that right.
Yeah. So before we start, Steph, my family were always cats. I'm a cat and dog person. I know that's a bit of a fence sitter sort of opinion, but what was your family? Your family was mainly dogs.
My family's dogs. I don't think we were ever allowed to get a cat, even though I tried. My dad had a bad experience with them when he was younger.
Yeah.
So we've always been dog people, but I do love Pinter, your cat.
Yeah, our cat's great.
Even though she doesn't love me.
That's right. Oh, well, cats, you have to earn their love. I think that's a part of what makes them great. But as I alluded to in my title, I sort of think that my parents liked cats because they're low maintenance. I mean, you love them and like, oh, I love my cat, but you can leave them for weeks at a time and they'll be fine. Whereas a dog is a little, a bit harder to
Your parents don't always understand. We can't always leave. We have a dog called Gizmo. But yeah,
he's a corgi. He's awesome.
He's a great little thing. Your parents don't really understand. We can't leave him because he's very needy.
Yeah, that's right. But the point I'm making is cats are they've got a strong survival instinct. The old phrase is cats have 9 lives, so they can pretty much survive through anything. This story is about a cat during wartime, during World War II, and its amazing ability to survive the impossible. Okay,
it's very interesting because when you said Unsinkable Sam, I was definitely thinking of a boat. So
maybe like a warship that just wouldn't sink or something like that. No, it's actually about a cat.
You've exceeded my expectations.
Okay, part 1: cats in wartime. So you're probably wondering, why is there a cat with a war title and how this might have come about? I'll give you a little background of what cats did during wartime. They actually had a pretty important role. So during World War II, it was quite common for different navies to have a feline friend on board the ship. This position of privilege was even recognised officially in some navies, almost like a ranking officer. So like on a ship, you'd have a captain and I don't know, whatever the positions, I don't know naval positions on boats. But the cat was often recorded as like being
a crewmate.
Being a crew member.
That's
so
cool.
They were seen as important. Now, they didn't have an official title that I could find, but I'm going to refer to them as official title of Chief Rodent Dispatcher. Okay.
Love it.
What do you think a rodent dispatcher might do on a naval vessel, Steph?
Definitely get all the rodents.
Yeah, exactly right. So these seafaring kitties served a variety of purposes, the main one being that they helped catch and eat rodents around the ship, as rodents were prevalent carriers of disease, and any means of keeping the numbers down was seen as a good thing.
Mice can sort of find their way into anything and survive anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's like quite a task for one cat on a battleship, like to hunt down rodents and kill them. But I suppose they did a pretty good job.
Well, I mean, they're very adaptable and resilient, aren't they?
Yeah,
For example, your cat Pinter, how many times has she...
She doesn't catch many rats or anything like that.
I'm thinking rabbits. More she's resilient.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. She got bitten by a snake and she survived being poisoned. Her back legs got dislocated and she's used up most of her 9 lives.
Yeah, maybe one left.
That's it. But I like to think that cats during wartime served a more important purpose. They probably provided companionships for the soldiers out at sea. They helped to relieve stress amongst the ranks and were even seen as a good luck charm. So Oscar, or Unsinkable Sam as he was later known, was a short-haired black and white cat that is said to have had lively eyes and clearly a spirit for adventure. Now, what separates Unsinkable Sam from the rest of his aquatic cats is his longevity and ability to adapt to any situation.
I like aquatic cats.
Yeah, well,
It sounds
nice.
like...
That's nice, yeah.
It sounds like a jazz name.
Yeah, aquatic cats, yeah.
Aquatic cats.
And they historically don't like water, so I don't know why you'd have them on a vessel that's floating in the middle of the ocean. But anyway, his survival instincts were second to none. This little kitty just did what had to be done. So without further ado, let's see how this cat came within a whisker of drowning not once, not twice, but 3 times. He survived drowning. Do you like my little whisker joke there?
Yes.
I
did notice it.
There's also a few more coming now. Part 2, the Bismarck. Our battle-hardened feline's tail, nice, starts aboard the Bismarck, which was the pride of the German Navy. This ship was the first full-scale battleship constructed by the Germans since World War I, so it was pretty important to them. At the time, this battleship was considered the most formidable to have ever graced the open seas and was even deemed unsinkable by the German army. Seems likely that you would say that about your best ship, that it's unsinkable, but probably shouldn't say that.
I don't think that has a very good track record when people call ships unsinkable.
I mean, like, you're probably going to get attacked. Mm-hmm. You got an extra target on your back.
Yeah.
Not something I would do. The ship was given its name after Chancellor Otto von Bismarck and measured 241 metres in length, weighed a massive 41,700 tonnes, and could hold up to 2,200 men, and was launched on the 14th of February 1939. That's a lot of ground for one cat to cover. That's a massive ship. Okay, but they got Oscar and they put him on there as the chief rodent dispatcher, and that was his job.
So was he the only cat on the ship?
Yeah, he was the only cat.
Oh. So it wasn't like he was the chief of the other cats and like
No, he was of
delegated
that ship.
and
He was the chief rodent.
He was the only one.
Dispatcher.
That's a big job.
Yeah. I'm not sure all the ships had cats, but some of them did.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, as I said, it was a massive ship, and it was pretty fearsome. But its reputation was not just with the German Navy. The British Navy were also aware of its girthiness and ability to deliver tremendous damage. But perhaps it was its reputation that caused its undoing, because on 19th of May 1941, the Bismarck entered into a battle with the British Navy and fought with 2 other famous battleships from the Royal Navy, the HMS Prince of Wales, and the largest British battleship, the pride of the Royal Navy, the HMS Hood, along with some other battleships as well. After this battle, the Bismarck, surprise, was damaged so badly that it couldn't move anymore, and it sunk. The unsinkable ship sank so hard it's not funny. So don't say your ship's unsinkable when it's...
Bad omen.
I would have thought the bigger the ship is, maybe the slower it is and it can't manoeuvre as much, so you're probably a bigger target. I don't know. I don't know anything about battleships, but that's what I would guess would happen. Of the 2,200 German soldiers on board, only 118 survived. Hours later, while patrolling the water near where the battle had taken place, the crew of the battleship HMS Cossack spotted a black and white cat floating in the water. This cat was Unsinkable Sam. So it's pretty amazing that the cat survived, considering of the 2,200 men
It's a massive loss of
on board
life.
that died, only 118 survived.
Yeah.
And cat was one of them. So he survived. Pretty incredible. I know that cats have a reputation of having 9 lives, but that's taking it to a new extreme.
Especially in the water. The poor cat. I can just imagine what it would have looked like.
Well,
It's just like a drowned rat.
You'll find out
Poor
later on,
thing.
this cat just sort of doesn't give a hoot. It doesn't care. It just like, I'll keep going. It's great survival instincts. So the cat survived by clinging to a wooden panel that was floating amongst the carnage. Once pulling the half-drowned rat aboard, the crew, not knowing his name, decided to call him Oscar and kept him on board as a good luck charm. And to deal with those pesky rodents, of course. So 1 ship down, 2 to go. So he hasn't quite got his nickname yet.
Yeah.
They didn't know what he was, a German cat on a German ship, so they just called him Oscar.
That makes sense.
But one ship down, 2 to go. Side note number 1. You know, I like to twist the narrative of a story to suit my theories. You found that out in episode 1 when I sort of made a supervillain. Try this one on for size. Oscar, or Unsinkable Sam, could have been a British spy. Yep. I went the James Bond angle in the first week, and I'm doing it again. Not very original, but I'm going with it again. But hear me out. What if the British trained this cat to be a spy, infiltrate the German Navy, assume the rank of official rodent dispatcher on the Bismarck, then when he won the confidence of the Germans, you know, with his cute paws and stuff like that, planted a bomb with his little cat paws, and then detonated it during the Bismarck's final battle before bravely making his escape and being picked up by the Royal battleship once the mission was over. It's a long shot.
That is a leap of faith.
It's a long shot, but I think I could be onto something. This cat's pretty special. I mean, undercover agent for the British.
You know what? That might be a bit of a possible episode idea.
It could be, yeah.
Secret agent animals.
And the reason why I've said that is...
You can't take that one. That's my one.
No, but the reason I went with that angle, because I've read in the past, this could be one of the things we looked into, that the Russians around the Cold War era trained dolphins and the beluga whales to be like spies. I don't know how true that is, but if you can do it to a beluga whale, why not a cat? Part 2, HMS Cossack. After his daring sabotage mission, Unsinkable Sam continued his service on his new home, the HMS Cossack, and that was for the next few months. So he switched sides. He was on the German side, now he's on the British side. The HMS Cossack's main role during this time was to serve as an escort unit for other British ships throughout the Mediterranean and North Atlantic Sea. On the 24th of October 1941, however, the HMS Cossack set off from Gibraltar, which is on the southern tip of Spain, to escort a British convoy back to the mainland England. Unfortunately, this is where the HMS Cossack met its end, with the German submarine attacking the vessel and hitting it with a torpedo.
Oh no.
Yeah. Roughly 139 of the crew were killed, although records vary. And I know what you're thinking. The Germans were after that cat. They were after Oscar, or Unsinkable Sam. They were seeking revenge for his betrayal.
Hang on. Maybe he's a double agent.
We'll get to that. You've ruined my joke. We'll get to that. We'll get to that later, though.
Great
Maybe they were seeking revenge for the betrayal that they had suffered at the hands or paws of the traitor and undercover service agent known as Unsinkable Sam. Well, he's got 2 names. You know, he's switching sides. He's surviving the unsurvivable sinking of ships. I'm onto something here. He was no doubt a high-value target for the Nazis, as he would have had vital intel that he could relay to the British Navy, who would have needed to be dealt with swiftly. Well, that's what I like to think happened. That's obviously not what happened, but we'll press on. On the 27th of October, the HMS Cossack finally sank just west of Gibraltar, and Oscar was once again found clinging to another piece of wood, floating amongst the carnage for the second time in only a few months. So he survived.
That is suspicious.
Yeah, exactly, suspicious.
All right, I'm in your wavelength.
Yeah,
here.
I
see.
You're coming towards me here. I like it. Because 1, 2, ridiculous. 3, insane. No cat could.
But also the fact that it was the same escape plan each time. Bit obvious.
And
don't you
you'll
think?
see later on there is a theme. That's right. Side note number 2. This poor cat was probably like, I'm just a cat. Can I remain on land, you know, chase balls of yarn, sleep on the couch in the sun, do all that sort of stuff? No, I have to be forced onto another battleship, another one that sinks in battle, and fight for my life in the open seas. I guess that he just accepted that as his fate. Once found at sea for the second time, he was brought ashore by the British to an establishment in Gibraltar. After the ordeal, the British officer saw it fitting to change his name from Oscar to Unsinkable Sam, his war title. So I think to get a war title, it must be you survive 2 sinking ships, and then you get your war title.
So what's a war title?
Oh, that's just the name I'm giving. Like that's his battle. It's like a battle cry. That's
battle
his name.
scar.
It's like, oh my god. It's like, oh my god. It's Uncle Sam. It's Unsinkable Sam, and they like salute him as he walks across the deck, like chasing a mouse or something like that. I don't know. It's his war title.
I like it.
Yeah. So he made it to mainland Gibraltar, and from there he lived out the remainder of his days as a British war hero.
British?
Gotcha! His already tumultuous naval career was about to get even more tumultuous.
Oh my goodness.
So I didn't really trick you because you know there's a third ship, but... Yeah. Part 3, HMS Arc Royal, or Arc Royal. I'm not sure how to say it. After his unofficial leave, Unsinkable Sam was recruited by the HMS Arc Royal to once again hunt down those pesky rodents and keep them British Navy soldiers disease-free. It was also somewhat fitting that Unsinkable Sam found himself aboard this specific vessel, as the HMS Arc Royal was instrumental in the sinking of the Bismarck, the first ship our feline friend found himself on. So it's kind of like fate coming around there. The HMS Arc Royal had several near misses and was incorrectly labelled as sunk on a number of occasions, and was seen to be a lucky ship in the eyes of the British Navy. A perfect place for Sam, right? Seeing how he's been unlucky enough to be on 2 sinking ships, he should deserve the chance to be on a lucky ship, or one that's not going to sink. But Unsinkable Sam's survival skills were called into action once more. On the 14th of November, 1941, the HMS Arc Royal was also attacked by a torpedo and was sunk to the bottom of the ocean near Malta this time. And yep, you guessed it, a certain cat was found for the third and final time, clinging to a plank of wood adrift at sea. Yes, again, a third time. Sus.
Very.
Very sus. When rescued, Sam was said to be, this is a quote, angry but quite unharmed. And fair enough too. I would have been pretty ticked off. Third ship I've been on, it's sunk. I've survived all of them.
He's trying to just do his job.
What job is it though?
Well, officially.
I don't think this cat's just catching rats. I think he's up to other stuff.
He's a sus cat.
Side note number 3, you're probably thinking, poor Sam, how could one cat be so unlucky? But I have another theory. I'm of course referring back to my British spy theory. What if this cat, that was trained by the British to be a spy and a master of sabotage, had gone rogue? What if they had lost control of their most deadly asset and Sam had decided that neither the Allies or the Axis deserved to win this war? Maybe he decided that he would rather watch both sides burn than be a part of this endless war.
My goodness.
Or maybe even worse, he was coerced by the Nazis into switching sides and was now an undercover agent for the Nazis. A double agent, like you said before. And now was responsible for the sinking of 2 British vessels. Maybe, just maybe, Unsinkable Sam is the greatest spy of all time, and we just don't know it.
That...
Ridiculous theory? I see you staring at me like, what the hell are you talking about?
Nah, I thought it was a little bit of a stretch, but...
Of course it's ridiculous, but what an amazing story. Imagine that they train this cat to be like some bomb expert or something like that.
Do you think the cat's
the story's already amazing, but I just want to make it even better. He's a double agent there. I said it.
You heard it here first.
That's it. Unsinkable Sam, double agent.
These are Aaron's theories alone.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't take this serious at all. I don't think anyone would. It's obviously ridiculous, but bit of fun. Part 4, discharge and retirement. Finally, after being chief rodent dispatcher on 3 battleships, 1 German and 2 British, some bright spark decided that it was time for Unsinkable Sam to retire from the Navy, as he had well and truly served his king and country, and that's an understatement. He was transferred to the mainland and found a new home as chief rodent dispatcher in the Governor-General's building in Gibraltar. He stayed there for some time before being transferred back to the UK, where he lived at a home for sailors in Belfast, Ireland. He remained at his Belfast home until he eventually passed away in 1955 of natural causes, safe in the knowledge that he was the best to ever do it. There is some queries as to the truth of the tale. Some deem it merely a sea story, especially the fact that the cat survived the sinking of the Bismarck, which resulted in only a handful of the crew surviving, as we found out. And the conditions around the time of the battle were noted as being very treacherous, like it was lots going on, the seas were rough, so it's a bit unlikely that a cat would survive, but not impossible. However, there are several photos of Unsinkable Sam with the British fleet, and of course logs that noted the cats for each vessel. and the chief rodent dispatcher, as they were more commonly known, or as I like to know them as. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. It's quite likely that this cat survived at least 2 because the British have photos of it and records of it. But as for the Bismarck one, that's up for debate. But such was his fame, he even had a pastel portrait painted by Georgina Shaw Baker, an artist, and it can still be found today in the National Maritime Museum in Greenwich, UK. So he was of some note because they decided to do a painting of him, and they don't just do paintings of anyone. You've got to be special. So that brings a close to our tale of a World War II cat that survived the sinking of 3 battleships and became an unlikely story of survival and perseverance that will go down in history. And also one of the greatest spies to have ever lived, as I like to think. But before we finish our little tale on the cat... Oh, firstly, what did you think of Unsinkable Sam? Did it surprise you?
It exceeded my expectations. I was expecting to hear about a boat.
Like a little tugboat or something called Unsinkable Sam.
I hear about this amazing cat who is also the most amazing spy.
Yeah, well, that's my theory anyway. I'm going with it.
Now you've converted me.
Yeah, but it's pretty amazing, a cat that survives, the sinking of ships. And I had no idea that they use cats on battleships to catch.
It makes sense, though.
Yeah, it does make sense. I mean, surely there's another way, maybe using baits or something like that. But maybe they needed the camaraderie, I don't know.
That's right.
But before we finish this episode, I'm going to mention a few other famous cats. Because I thought, why not? We may as well look at some other cats. We've got tartar sauce, or better known as Grumpy Cat. Are you aware of Grumpy Cat?
Of course I am.
The famous cat with the grumpy expression. I think he has dwarfism or something like
Yeah,
that.
something.
And he became world famous, and there was books, kids' books made about him.
I even got you one of those.
Oh, you did, and that's what triggered my memory. I was like, Grumpy Cat, tartar sauce. There was also Tabby, Abraham Lincoln's cat, and was seen to be the first presidential pet in the White House, and he used to feed Tabby with a gold fork.
Oh.
Another famous cat.
There was
this
George Washington's wife's cat, named after Alexander Hamilton.
Was there?
I do know that from the musical.
Alexander.
Yeah, Hamilton.
Oh, that's right. It was in the musical. We did learn about that. Yeah. Sorry, I admitted that from my list.
It's okay. I have all the Hamilton knowledge we need.
Yeah, that's right. And I don't think we're going to do Hamilton on this because you've shoved it down my throat enough. I know enough about it. We also had Scarlet. This one's amazing. That lived from 1995 to 2008. It was a stray cat that lived in Brooklyn, New York, who rose to fame after risking her life to save her kittens from a fire in 1996. She and her kittens were living in an abandoned garage when it caught fire, and Scarlett carried every last one of them out of the building, burning herself badly in the process.
Wow.
But all of Scarlett's kittens survived. And she had some health problems and stuff after, but she was adopted. All of her babies were adopted, and she survived. So cats are pretty badass. Like a cat surviving at sea.
Resilient.
This one just went into a fire and saved all its kittens and like burnt its face off and stuff. Pretty amazing. There was another famous cat, Oscar, a different one, the feline Grim Reaper. You may have heard of this one. The one that was known for the ability to predict those who are about to pass away.
Oh, yes.
So I was in a hospital. Have you heard about that?
I have heard about this one.
Go and lay on the end of their beds, and they pass away not too long after. So he was Oscar the Grim Reaper. A bit grim. But
I've always wondered, is that comforting to have that cat?
Yeah, imagine you were sitting there and you saw the cat coming towards you.
Yep.
Like, please, God, no. Oscar, no. And Oscar just jumps up on the bed. It's like, I've chosen you. Puts his paw on you. It's over.
Oh, sad.
And the last one, you may have heard of this one as well. Maru, the Boxmaster cat. This is a cat famous around the world for his YouTube videos for repeatedly jumping in and out of boxes. Have you seen him on YouTube?
I haven't. I must have.
You haven't?
This.
Wow, you haven't.
You'll
Maru,
have to
look
show
him
me.
up. He's amazing.
Okay.
His thing is running and jumping into boxes and sliding along the floor. He's amazing. And he's known as the most viewed animal on YouTube.
Wow.
Which is coincidentally one of the many places where you'll find our podcast. Awesome segue. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of His and Hers History, told in the His and Hers Histories way. Did you have fun, Steph?
I had a great time.
It's a bit of a shorter one, this one, but I thought, why I couldn't not cover it. It's a pretty amazing story about this cat. So if you'd like to listen to more of our podcast, you can find us obviously at YouTube, as I said. We have a website, hisandhershistory.podbean.com. There's the Podbean app. We're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, hopefully Apple Podcasts in the future if we can figure out the issues we're having with that. But feel free to give a comment, a follow of our podcast, a like on whatever platform suits you. Leave any feedback or ideas that you have for us, because we'd love to know what people think.
You can also get into contact with us on hisandhershistory@gmail.com.
Yeah, that'd be good too if you've got any questions. So hopefully we can build a little community here and provide you with some entertaining looks at a variety of historical topics. And speaking of these historical topics, Steph, do you have a clue for me as to what you're covering in next week's episode?
Next week we'll be visiting Victorian London.
Yes, I like it.
And you'll need to get your jumping shoes on.
Jumping shoes? That's not much of a clue. That's just very confusing, but
it will make sense next week.
I'm sure it will. On His and Hers History podcast.
All right, I think it's time for us to say goodbye.
Okay, see you in the next one.
Bye.
Catch ya.